first time ever.
Warning act of terror.
We are ready to engage with a two-state solution.
Some of his most senior cabinet members
The drivers of a new economic age.
Today we are discussing a headline that may look like a routine defense deal, but in reality it opens a much larger strategic picture. Pakistan strikes a 4 billion arms deal with Libya. At first glance this looks like a simple seller-buyer relationship, but when you examine who Pakistan is, what Libya represents, and why this deal matters now, the story becomes far more complex. And let's break this down. Now, why this deal is not normal? First, let's understand why this deal stands out. 4 billion is a very large figure for Pakistan's defense exports. Pakistan's economy is under severe financial stress. Foreign reserves, IMF pressure, inflation and debt. Now, Libya is not a stable country again. It is divided, militarized and still dealing with the after effects of regime collapse. So the first question is, why would a fragile country like Libya sign such a massive arms deal? And why is Pakistan pushing the defense exports so aggressively right now? And this is where the economics, the geopolitics and the conflict economics intersect. Now, Pakistan's defense industry, the economic push. Pakistan has been trying to rebrand itself as a defense exporter. Over the last decade, Pakistan has promoted small arms, ammunition, armored vehicles, drones, trainer aircraft, maintenance and upgrade services. Why? Because defense exports bring quick dollars. No long gestation period. No infrastructure, heavy investment, political backing from the military establishment. For Pakistan, arms exports are not just business. They are economic survival tool. When traditional exports struggle, weapons become a revenue stream. So this Libya deal fits perfectly into that strategy. Now, Libya, a country still at war with itself. Let's talk about Libya. Libya has not had a unified army, a stable government, full territorial control for years. Instead, Libya has rival governments, multiple armed factions, foreign-backed militias, external influence from Turkey, Russia, UAE and others. In such environments, arms are not just for defense, arms become tools of power, bargaining and survival. So when Libya signs a major arms deal, it raises serious questions. Who control these weapons? Which faction benefits? Who guarantees and use? So this is why Libya is considered part of that conflict economy. Now let's understand the conflict economy, the missing lens. Let's pause and explain a very important concept of this conflict economy. A conflict economy is when war sustains livelihoods. Arms deal replace developments, power flows through weapons, not institutions. So in such systems, stability is not profitable. Peace threatens vested interests and weapons keep political equations alive. So Libya today fits this model. So the deal is not just Pakistan selling arms, it is Pakistan entering an active conflict economy that has long-term consequences. Now, who really benefits? Let's ask the uncomfortable question. Who actually benefits from this deal? Pakistan's military industrial complex foreign exchange, strategic relevance, political leverage, Libyan power brokers strengthening their position, gaining bargaining power, preparing for future confrontations, external actors, arms deals, shift balances, create dependencies, keep conflict manageable, not resolved. But who does not being benefit? Ordinary Libyans, institutions, regional stability. And that tells us a lot. So what is a strategic signaling? Not just commerce. This deal also sends signal, Pakistan signals that it is open to high risk defense markets. Libya signals that it prefers arms over institutional building. Other fragile states observe this and take notes in geopolitics signals that matters more than statements. So this deal signals militarization is being kind of normalized. Conflict zones remain profitable markets. Risks that Pakistan is taking that we should also be aware about, because this deal is not without consequences. Reputational risk. Supplying arms to unstable regions attracts scrutiny. The end use risk. Weapons can change hands, fuel internal conflict, appear in unintended theater. And then the diplomatic risk. Pakistan already faces image challenges, trust deficits, scrutiny on militancy links. Deals like this add layers of complexity. So what is the bigger pattern? This deal fits into a larger global trend. Conflict zones becoming arms markets, middle powers exploring weapons to fragile states, economic stress driving militarized trade. And we see similar patterns in Africa, West Asia, parts of Eastern Europe. So the world is not becoming safer, it is becoming more armed and less governed. So the real question is not, did Pakistan sign a 4 billion deal? The real question is, are we watching the normalization of conflicts as an economic model? When armies replace development, when deals replace diplomacy, and when stability becomes optional, that is when the security becomes fragile for each one of us. And this is not about blaming one country at all. This is about understanding how conflict economies and power now intersect. Because in geopolitics, what looks profitable today often becomes unstable tomorrow. So thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. If this analysis helped you see beyond the headline, do share and engage with your own channel. That's all from my side in this video. I'll see you in the next video. Jai Hind and Jai Bharat.